This time mic check. Mic check. This time I'd like to call the regular scheduled meeting of the Plaquemines Parish Council as the sole governing authority of the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District to order at 1 p.m. Machine is open for roll call. Let the record reflect we have 7 sitting councilmen. Councilman Edgecombe and Councilman Black are absent today. Would all please stand for the prayer? We take this moment to acknowledge Almighty God and thank Him for our bountiful blessings, especially for our parish's natural resources. We give thanks to God for our brave and courageous men and women in our military who daily risk their lives to protect our precious freedom, and we pray for our world leaders to know how to obtain world peace. We pray that this government body, comprised of both council and administration, will always serve our parish with honesty, humility, and equality to all. And as this government body gathers here today, we pray for the wisdom to know right from wrong and the courage to do that which is right. Amen. Say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everyone. We'll move to item 2, the executive session. There being none, we'll move to item 3, status report by the Executive Port Director.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the board, and members of the audience. I am Sandy Sanders, Executive Director of Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District. Follows is my Executive Director's report for the reporting period of 15 to 28 April of 2016. During this time period, I attended the Mississippi River Commission meeting that was held at the Port of New Orleans. This commission meets on a quarterly basis, not necessarily in Louisiana, but throughout anywhere from Minnesota down to Plaquemines Parish. I've attended meetings that were up in Minneapolis and in St. Louis. Major General Veer, who was the commanding officer at Vicksburg, hosts the meeting because he is in charge of the Mississippi River Valley. And Major General Jackson from the Corps of Engineers up in Washington, D.C. headquarters, who's in charge of Public Works, also attended. It's more of a meeting to hear from constituents, and the resounding theme that they walked away with is we need the money that has been set aside in the maintenance trust fund, Harbor Maintenance Trust Fund, that is being held by the last 2 or 3 administrations to have that money released to go towards what it was intended to do, and that is the maintenance of the Mississippi River Valley system. Again, it was dredging costs money. We have locks and dams that haven't been maintained in 60 plus years. And we all know about the locks that we have here in our zip code that are in dire need of maintenance. So the resounding theme that they received from our crowd, and they even told us this is the theme that they get at every meeting throughout the Mississippi Valley, is release the funds to go towards maintenance. General Veer pulled me aside and asked me to thank the council for your movement of getting that resolution signed at the last meeting. I know we had to speed things up, but analogous to the speedy resolution that we got with Baptiste Collette, your support letter was part of a packet that went up to the WRDA conference, and this year we have received the largest amount of appropriated funds for the Mississippi River. So he asked me to extend his many thanks to the board. During this time frame, we also hosted the 3 principles with American Patriot Holdings. American Patriot Holdings, I have talked about them. This is the outfit that is putting together the concept of the container on barge. We're working through feasibility studies. When those are finished, we'll be working on a joint marketing approach to do a strategic reach out to the market. We also had a dinner that evening, and attending were Councilman Bartholomew and Councilman Irvin. I will turn this over to Councilman Irvin for comments, and also to you, Mr. Bartholomew.
Well, we went to the meeting, and we met some individuals from New York, and they spoke about the containers, and we showed some. They showed us some slides, and it was very interesting. And I think if it all works out, it would be very good for Plaquemines Parish. If it's not going to be tomorrow, it's going to take a while, but it looked very good.
Councilman Bartholomew.
Yes, thank you. It's very important that we start developing a new resource, new finances. And the Mississippi is the key. And the information came out of the meeting that I have taken out of the meeting. That means we're in the right posture and with the right attitude to get industry to come in to create a new venue that would assist Plaquemines Parish in the very near future as having an independent resource, not predicated on prices throughout all, but it's a shipping industry. And the mechanism that they offer to put in place would be a new mindset for distributing container ports up and through down the Mississippi River, which means that they have less time sitting at a port, which eventually causes cost of product, and stuff will increase. But by moving it quickly and faster, I mean, it'll be cheaper, and it'll be a whole lot more money coming into the steamer doors through Plaquemines. And not only that, the steamer doors themselves will be able to increase the number of trips throughout the year. And with that being said, that means we will increase a lot more tax bases. Thank you.
Yes, sir. During this time frame, we had a group from Plaquemines area. We provided the port strategic vision and action plan to the Lieutenant Governor of Louisiana. The action plan connects a lot of projects that have been going on in the parish for 20-plus years. Some of y'all are very familiar with these, the rehabbing of the tunnel, a new bridge, access roads to the north side of the Naval Air Base, bringing down the rail from West Wego down Harvey Canal, around the Naval Air Station, widening Highway 23 down at the Port Sulphur area, all the way down to the area of what we all know as Venice Port Complex. And then wrapping all of these projects into what we call an energy corridor. We are very blessed in this area because there are not many communities in the U.S. that have all four major modes of transportation in one zip code. We're working on the maritime. We are improving our road systems. We are improving our rail systems. And with the introduction of commercial air cargo from Callender Field, that is the last link that we need with that air transportation to bring all four major modes of transportation together in one central area. And what we are creating here is an intermodal, meaning it can go from one mode to another, multimodal, i.e. the rail, the air, the maritime, and the highway, and putting it all together and wrapping it into what is called an energy corridor. An energy corridor is what the Port of Fourchon put together, and yes, I am copying what they did. And they had community leaders, they had their elected leaders, they had the governor, they had their congressional leaders, and equally important, they had the big oil companies that they serve stand together shoulder to shoulder in telling the Congress and the Senate and the President's office This is what we need. We have a very valuable resource here, and it needs to be funded. And so that I am analogous to that. I am putting this together. Councilman Black would like for me to meet with Mr. President and also include, and we've done this, but a better communication of what we're trying to do here in our parish and put these all together. That they're projects that are, there's a symbiotic relation with all of these projects. And if we put it all together as in one grandiose project, then it becomes Plaquemines Parish project. I'm going to also brief Mike Yenny, who is the president of Jefferson Parish. He is very interested in the projects that we are doing because some of our projects, though they are not in our backyard, they're not in Plaquemines Parish, they run through his parish, and he is very excited about that. And so again, it's combining our resources, combining our political leaders together for the greater good of our area and our whole southern region of Louisiana. I must say that the Lieutenant Governor is totally on board. As you know, the Lieutenant Governor, he can't help but lend his advice, and he's in a helping hand. Attending this meeting were Councilman Black, representing the Port Board, and Councilman Barthélemy. I wanted to get two folks from both boards to council. Councilman Black is not here, but again, I turn it over to Councilman Barthélemy for your comments.
It was very informative, I'm sure, and I was able to get a lot of support from the people that was there, especially our Lieutenant Governor, who had vowed that he would do anything necessary to support the Port of Plaquemines Parish in which way he can assist, he's willing to do that. Also, you had other representative people there representing different components of the business, and they was amazed at the presentation and what is our vision, since it's already been identified, and in what way we are moving. So it was very supportive, very successful.
Thank you, sir. I received an update from Sherman Bryant, who's the CEO of Cambridge Energy. Cambridge Energy is the floating LNG project, which is going to be on the lower part on the east side of the river. He is working hard on his offtake agreements, mainly with the South Korean government, that could produce up to 8 million tons of LNG. That is very key. They're like anytime when you deal with a government, it's not as fast as you'd like it, so they got to go through some elections. But once that is taking place, he is assured that they will take the full offtake of the 8 million tons. So that will give him a fire in his belly to get on with this project. We're continuing to meet with entities that are interested in the Freeport Sulphur site and the AMAX site. We're working on their financials to arrange a purchase leaseback type arrangement. We're gathering info on investors, their business plan. In particular, they're done in Bradstreet ratings, just to make sure that we're not talking to someone who is not properly vetted. This is ongoing. They're covered by non-disclosure agreements. But as time and the projects permit, I will be announcing these on the progress. We met with Bob Pender. He is one of the co-CEOs of Venture Global, and we discussed permitting and drainage problems on the property that they have put an option on. He feels very good that the permitting, even though it took a bump in the road, that it is going to be headed in the right direction. And he was very concerned about the drainage on the property. We are working with some parish employees that have been nothing but spectacular as far as being attentive to the needs to bring this industry in. So I'd like to thank Blair Rittner and but Blair has been very helpful with us on this. And lastly, we have instituted a monthly standing meeting of the Port Committee. one of the first things we did was we instituted a time and a place and a date to have this monthly meeting. And we have chosen the first Tuesday of the month at 1700, and it will take place at the Port Executive Conference Room on the 3rd floor. Obviously, an open meeting, so mark your calendars. This was a good move because, as y'all have witnessed in this meeting, we've had some fits and starts since we started we reinstituted the Port Committee, and so I think we're off to a good start. I will defer to Councilman Audrey. Comments?
Mr. Sanders, at this time, I would reserve my comments, but I concur that the committee agreed upon the monthly meeting, and having said that, I would defer it back to you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. On our agenda today, we have a resolution authorizing the extension of the contract with Trident Holdings Incorporated for 1 year. This item was discussed during the recent Port Committee meeting that we had this past week, and the committee recommended that representatives from Trident address the council prior to action, which we wholly support. So I am asking that we deferred this in order to arrange for Trident to be here, hopefully by the next council meeting. I got in touch with them immediately after their meeting. They are scrambling with their schedules, but they will be here to address. And questions asked, and where are we headed with the port? I think that's very important. I know there's a lot of questions out there. And, this is not my port. This is our port. It's Plaquemines Port. And there's folks in this room that, through their taxes, help build the port. And we appreciate that. And so they deserve some feedback. And so I am setting that up as fast as I can. But I do ask that that be deferred until I can bring them forth. Mr. Vice Chairman, subject to the questions that you have or the board has or from the audience, this concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders, and I'll just open up to the council, to the table, if they have any questions or comments. Mr. Sanders.
I am very pleased with the outcome of the port setting up committees, the committee meeting to represent what was done with the committee. And now I think we're in line of the legislation. So I really appreciate that effort from the committee members as well as the administrative team for the port.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else of the audience? All right, there being none, we'll move to item, I'm sorry. Come on up, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. I've heard this statement about what we can do on the west bank of the river. What I'm going to say might be contrary to it. The last time I said something like this at a meeting, they would not ever allow me to speak at a council meeting after that, so I don't want to lose that privilege. But for some reason or other, they can't understand, and I sat down and explained to them why. But Plaquemines Parish happens to be a port of a metropolitan district which has 6 of the 7 trunk line railroads that cover all of the United States, Canada, and Mexico. 5 of the 6 are on the east bank of the river. The one that is on the west bank of the river is 25 miles from Plaquemines Parish. It takes a grade school kid to understand that. The good thing about it, and I mean, I like the New Orleans and Gulf Coast Railroad, but it is not actually a railroad. It's a switching line. And every time, maybe if we're only shipping one container, they'd be satisfied. Go ahead and pay the fee. But when you start shipping 100 containers, you look other ways to do your business. And the business would not be the port of Plaquemine Parish. I remember speaking to Mr. Sanders, and he vehemently opposed doing any business with the New Orleans Public Belt Railroad. If you're on the west bank of the river, the only way you can do your business is with the New Orleans Public Belt Railroad. All of your railroads are on the east bank. So why put it on the west bank? I don't know how many times I have to say it, but I told him, I sat down there and talked to him for an hour, explaining everything. And please believe me, I've only been in the business 60 years, so I might not know what it's all about. But it bothers me badly that we continue to have the same silly argument. Yes, you could do it, but you won't have no business. And it's business that pays for it. If we go ahead and put it on the West Bank, we'll give it to the New Orleans and Gulf Coast Railroad. They will give us a switching charge. The only way they can move that car is to another switching line, like the New Orleans Public Belt Railroad, to get it across the river. So before we ever move, we already have 2 switching charges on it. And if you do that to business, they're going to go elsewhere. If you lose 3 days in a shipment because you can't move these big trains at night, you have to use it at night, and you'll lose 3 days in a shipment. That's the reason why Mr. Pennison told him they had trouble one time with shipping something on the New Orleans Public Belt Railroad. It took 10 days to get across the river. You do that, you're not going to get repeat business. I can guarantee the Norfolk Southern Railroad 20,000 containers a month, and know that I can easily put it. You think I'm going to come there with 20,000 containers and pay switching charges? I mean, let's be serious, huh? And I talked to the man, and I told him I did it for his good, and he still doesn't understand it. I want to keep this argument up. But if you give it to a trunk line railroad like the Norfolk Southern, they have an interchange system. And when I told him that, he said, "What's that?" He said, "How would the Norfolk Southern get it to the other railroads?" I said, "Through their interchange system. If they want to interchange with the CSI, they go to New Orleans East. If they want to interchange with the other 4 railroads, they go to Shrewsbury, which is in Jefferson Parish. I don't mind, but if the man knew his job, he wouldn't be up here proposing the stuff that he's proposing. I've been in this business. I know it back and forth. My people are ready to probably invest in excess of $4 billion on the east bank of the river, and we don't want this kind of stuff. I know what I'm talking about, and I know what I'm doing. I had a meeting with some people from Central America the other day. I was told, why didn't I invite the council to the meeting? Actually, it was just an in-house meeting, but the first thing I did, I called up all the councilmen and told them come. There were 2 of them that were able to make it. I know it was the last minute. It's not my fault, because I thought it was just an in-house meeting, because I wanted Amos Cormier to meet the man from Guatemala, who is one of my partners. And Amos Cormier had the duty one time to stand in the reception line for Vice President Biden. And I had the chance to talk to Amos. And I told him, I said, Amos, as soon as you see the vice president, tell him these 3 simple words. He did that. It stopped the reception line. And the vice president said, get somebody that can give me this man's name and how to contact him. I can guarantee, knowing full well that once I get the wharfs built, I can guarantee Plaquemine Parish 550,000 containers a year. If they can beat that, I'll move elsewhere. I appreciate that you gave me some time to talk.
Thank you.
I'd like to respond to that. If Mr. McCarthy has $4 billion and ready to build a port, I'm your biggest cheerleader. I say go build it.
It's a process. You don't just go down to the corner bank and say, give me $4 billion. Okay? It's a process. There's a lot of work
And there
to
are
it.
many people that are located on the East Bank that were here, and they didn't ask my permission to build. They purchased property, and they built it. There's folks on the West Bank, did not ask my permission to build. They built, and they're doing business. If you are ready to go, I'm your biggest cheerleader. You ready to go?
I don't even want you in my stadium,
Okay.
to be honest with
All
you.
right.
All right, let's end it there.
I'll
Thank you, Mr.
limit-
McCarthy.
Okay, but let me,
Thank you.
can I answer?
No, sir, that's it. Thank you. Mr. Roussel.
Yes. To me, we've heard these stories for some time. We've heard the ports stories for some time. As a mediator between all of these entities, we have to sit here and hope that something will come to fruition. And whether it's Sandy's efforts or your efforts, we want to see something developed on the port. And I don't want to get into a debate or discussion. I appreciate all of your efforts. I've been to your meetings. I attend some meetings with the port, and I listen to their presentation. And I haven't seen any action on any of the projects when it comes to containers. So until that happens, we'll continue to talk about the East Bank versus the West Bank. But as he said, whoever brings the project to the table, this government will embrace it as the port, as the council, as the government. So to continue this dialogue about, what was said, what wasn't said, and who's going to do what and who's going to do this, until somebody brings something to the table, I don't see anything changing. And I'm going to hold my comments for Trident at the next meeting to see what they're going to bring to the table, since we've spent $1.7 million on them. So I want to see this debate simmer down, if that's possible, and everybody go and do their thing, and the first one that catches the fish or the whale, bring it to the table. So without that, I'm completed my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Roussel.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
if I interject, the thing that I talked about with Vice President Joe Biden is this, and I hate to put a damper on the wall that candidate Trump is trying to build. If we can create jobs in Central America, El Salvador, Honduras, and Guatemala, then those people will stay in those areas. So what we're trying to do with Plaquemines Parish is create that venue to where that we can put this Northern Triangle together and create jobs in that area in order to help out not only their countries, but also the United States of America, and to solve a problem, whether it be in Central America or South America. Joining the two continents together and having that trade balance. And we believe that Plaquemines Parish can be the stepping stone to that particular triangle. If you look at it on paper, how it's configured on there, then this is a viable process. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. President. We'll move to item number 4, bids and advertisements. There being none, we'll move to item number 5, introductions of ordinances and resolutions. Councilmember Bartholomew.
Yes, I have one. An ordinance to amend as amended and readopt Rule 1, Charter 1, Section 2-18, the Code of Ordinance for Plaquemine Parish, Louisiana, to establish a meeting of the Plaquemine Parish Council as sole governing authority of the Plaquemine Parish Port Harbor and Terminal District, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Gino? Mr. Roussel? Mr. Lapine? I have two. An ordinance to amend, as amended, readopt Rule 1 of Chapter 1 of Section 2-18 of the Code of Ordinances for Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, to establish the meetings of the Plaquemines Parish Council as the sole governing authority of the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
It's the same one. Is it?
There's two different ordinances. One is to change the meeting days, and one is for the time.
Thank you.
So the one, excuse me, so the one Mr. Byrd introduced just now was the time. It's regarding-
Mr. Burt's doing it to where there would be only one port meeting a month, and Mr. Bartholomew is changing the time of the port meetings.
Thank you.
A resolution authorizing the Port Executive Director, Mayor Jay Sanders, for and on behalf of the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District, to name and accept the proposal of the Plaquemines Parish Gazette as the official journal for the Plaquemines Parish Council as the sole governing authority of the Plaquemines Parish Port Harbor and Terminal District, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. That is all. Ms. Salvant?
I have none.
Ms. Williams?
I have none.
We'll move to item number 6. There being none, item 6B is being deferred. We'll move to item number 7. No introductions of resolutions where suspension is being sought. And we'll move to item number 8, approval of the April 14th, 2016 meeting minutes.
I'll offer.
Councilmember Bartholomew offers. There a second? Second by Councilmember Williams. The machine is open on the minutes. And the minutes are adopted 7-0. This time I'll move for an adjournment.
I'll offer.
Offered by Councilmember Williams. I get a second? Second by Councilmember Juneau. Machine is open. And the adjournment is 7-0 at 1:33 PM.
We'll call the meeting of the April 28, 2016 council meeting to order at 1:35. The machine is open for roll call. Let the record reflect that 7 sitting councilmen, Councilman Black and Councilman Edgecombe are absent. Mr. Cormier is here with his staff, and welcome everyone. Before we move to item 1A, executive session, I'd like to ask my colleagues to go through it for their deferrals and withdrawals. Mr. Bartholomew?
For 6A1.
6A1, deferred? Yes. Okay. Thank you. Mr. Juneau? Thank you. Mr. Russo?
None.
Thank you. I'm going to defer some on behalf of Mr. Black also, so bear with me. 6A2 is deferred. 6B is deferred. 6E, F, and G are deferred. 6I is deferred. 6T, 6U, and 6V are all deferred. And 6W will be deferred. Mr. Burt.
6K will be deferred.
6K deferred, okay. Thank you. Ms. Salvant?
Yes. I will be withdrawing 6H.
I'm sorry, H?
Yes,
Okay.
as in horse.
Withdraw. Okay. Okay, Ms. Williams?
I don't have any, sir.
Thank you. Just to recap for the audience, 6A1 is deferred, 6A2 is deferred, 6B is deferred, 6E, F, and G are deferred, 6H is withdrawn, 6I is deferred, 6K is deferred, 6T, U, V, and W are deferred. So, with that, we'll move to item 1A, executive session, and before we do, I will respectfully request that item 2 on executive session be deferred to the next meeting to allow Mr. Black and Mr. Edgecombe to be present to hear any information presented.
At this time, I would like to have the executive session, unless it's your intention to defer the item on the agenda to withdraw the suit. I think that it would benefit the council members that are here today to listen to the executive session, and then we can defer it and have it again at the next meeting where those two council members that are absent can hear it again, because it might take you twice to understand it.
Okay? Ms. Barber, will you read executive session?
6A1, Lemoyne versus Schultes and PPG, 24th JDC, case number 719686, Division P, Attorney Shane Williams. 1A2, Plaquemines Parish Government versus William H. Billy Nungesser, 25th JDC, number 62-538, Division B, Attorneys Shane Landry, Melvin Burmaster, Robert Burnett.
Can I get a second on executive session?
I'll second it.
Second. Machine is open on executive session. Seven to 0, and we will adjourn the executive session at 1:38. Session at 2:33, finding no legal and binding action. Wait, there's been a request to move to 6. Wait, I'm sorry, hold on. Miss Audrey, X. 6X. Ms. Barber, will you read 6X?
A resolution authorizing Plaquemines Parish President Amos Cormier Jr. to enter into and execute the original entity-state agreement for LA 23, Happy Jack to North Port Sulphur, State Project Number H.001399, Federal Aid Project Number H.001399, herein referred to as the project, with Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development, DOTD, and the Regional Planning Commission.
You offer, Ms. Salvant?
Yes, I do, I offer it.
Offer and ask for a second.
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Williams. Ms. Salvant?
Yes, I think we have a consultant here to address this legislation, but I think in summary, I think what it does is this legislation will allow us to move forward with to enter into a contract with the state to get the design completed. So I think the consultant is here. We can have him to come up and explain it to the council. Thank you.
I'm Michael Nicolatis, NY Associates, and we are the design engineer for Plaquemines Parish on this project. And essentially, what this agreement does is allow the parish and the state to agree to move forward with the project. The reason that the agreement's required is in essentially the parish via the RPC has completed the environmental assessment. The parish then engaged NY to do the survey work, topographic survey work, which is complete. And the parish has agreed to fund the engineering design. The state has agreed, or will agree, to fund the construction of the project. That's why this entity-state agreement is required. And DOTD, again, would fund the construction of the project, or plan to fund the construction through its budget process when the plans are done. DOTD would have to do that in about 2.5 to 3 years. The design process we have to follow requires that we go through the DOTD steps, and DOTD is very particular about the process and the stages and the different design submittals, so it's about a 2.5 to 3 year process. So hopefully, once that is done, the project could then be constructed. This is the last segment of LA 23, which is still 2 lanes between Happy Jack and Port Sulphur. I'd be happy to answer any questions or...
No, I don't, but I think it just needed to be mentioned, that this is the 4-lane highway in Port Sulphur.
Yes, so
think
it's
that
currently a
needs to be said.
2-lane road. That's the last
Right.
segment, which is 2 lanes. The job is stated as a widening project, but just so you'll know, it really is a complete reconstruction. It's essentially will be a new 4-lane highway, not just widening the existing 2 lanes.
I'd like to say it real quick. I'm glad to see this thing finally off the ground, and for the residents of the lower end of the parish, this is long overdue. So, Ms. Salvant, you got my support 100%.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I may
Mr.
also interject that Governor Edwards did mention this at the West Bank luncheon
Correct.
as one of the things that he wanted to see to take place because of the infrastructure with the oil industry and so forth. And this 2-lane road should have been completed way back in the 60s, and it's been lingering on and on and on since then. So I'm really appreciative of the efforts that NY has done, and hopefully we can complete this thing in 2.5 years.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Just a quick question. How long the stretch is?
It's about, I want to say, it's about 4 miles.
About 4 miles?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr.
Construction, it's an expensive construction, which would be about $40 million to actually construct
okay.
it. Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Russo has a question.
No, sure.
Yes, when the president mentioned Governor Edwards in 1983 mentioned it as well.
Okay.
So-
We have 2.
I was wanting to clarify what Edwards he's
long.
talking about.
John Bell.
So if John
Hopefully can
Bell,
ring a
Yeah,
bell.
I was at that luncheon. We were pleased to hear him say it, and I didn't realize that the former governor had also mentioned it also.
it's been mentioned for many times, and it's been relocated from existing to river and back to existing. So I assume that y'all have worked out all of the problems with the sewer lines and all of that
Yeah,
being in.
the environmental assessment addressed utility relocations. That's part of the construction cost. There are about $7 million of various utility relocations that are part of that cost, and that's part of the cost that DOTD would be funding as the utility relocations during the construction.
And the reason I bring that up is because the government needs to look at that when they decide to spend local money in that corridor and make priorities as to when that project of the highway will
Oh,
come
right.
in and do those relocations and new lines versus us spending money and then tearing it up.
Good point. We'll be working with your engineering department, make sure that goes according to, we don't want to do anything twice.
Right, I just want to put that on the table so the ST and the administration works and realizes
Okay.
that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any,
Excuse me, one more question, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman, if I may. That expansion will take place on the marsh side of the highway, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a, yeah, there's not much right-of-way at all to be acquired. The right-of-way essentially is there, essentially.
thank you.
As the foregoing speakers have said, how long this project has been in process, I'm just excited as the district representative that this project is finally coming to fruition. So I appreciate everybody that had something to do with to bring it to this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Audrey. Any other questions from the table? Audience? Mr. Lawrence?
Warren Lawrence, Myrtle Grove. Well, the question I had was, how much is this costing the parish, and where is the money for the design? I understood the parish is going to have to pay for the design?
Yes.
And how much is that?
The engineering design is approximately $1.5 million.
Okay. And when they did the other highways all the way through, did the parish pay for the design on the rest of the highways, or did the state pay for it?
I'm not sure about that.
It's a state highway.
It is, yes.
And I'm questioning, are all state highways that the local parishes have to pay for design on state highways? And where do we get the 1.5 million? Where's it coming from? With that, I'll sit.
We requested Representative Leopold to find capital outlay money to cover the rest of the design. We originally had put in $500,000 to start the design, getting a survey and a geotech work done, just so we could at least keep this ball rolling. Mr. Turner had supported this project initially with $140,000 for the Stage 0 report, and then RPC came in to help us with the Stage 1, which is environmental, which NY was the consultant that completed that portion. And I believe Mr. Turner was the one that got the $500,000 appropriated to get the design in the last term. So it's the $1 million that we need to complete the design is, as I understand it, coming out of the capital outlay funding. And that's what this entity-state agreement is for, to help us pull that money from the state.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Dugas. Anyone
Mr.
else?
Lawrence- Mr. Lawrence, this is not one we want to have a conversation on. We want to move this one forward.
Oh, I know. We want to move forward. We want to make sure we're paying for something we have to pay for.
Thank you. Anyone else? The machine is open on 6X. And the resolution is granted 7-0. We will move now to 6A4. Barbara, can you read? That's right, Nicole?
Yes. An ordinance to amend and amended to readopt Section 4 of Ordinance Number 142, the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance of Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, as amended, and the Comprehensive Zoning District Map therein adopted by reference, and which is paired thereto with reference to application number 2016-160 dated February 16, 2016.
You offer, Ms. Williams?
Yes.
I'll second.
This is an ordinance to rezone some property currently zoned as rural agricultural A2 into general zoning, general commercial zoning C2. This went in front of the zoning board. To my knowledge, they approved this, Ms. Rose?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And if anyone wants to speak on it, I have Mr. Newman, who is trying to rezone this, and he's interested in selling the property, and they have some investors that want to put some commercial property there. Y'all want to come up and speak on it, or?
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Rebecca Rostrup. I'm with Telus Development out of Gulfport, Mississippi. I'm here to answer any questions you might have regarding our project.
What is the intention, what are y'all intending to place there, ma'am?
We're going to put large storage buildings that will be individually enclosed units that will accommodate boats, RVs, those type of
Do you have an
size.
approximate figure on the cost of your project?
It'll be somewhere around $1 million.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any questions from the table?
Yeah, what you plan to store in those buildings?
They are individually large enclosed
Yeah, but I mean,
units.
what,
They'll accommodate boats, RVs,
right.
that type of storage.
Just thinking about chemicals or anything of that nature.
No, sir.
Thank you.
Any
Thank
other
you.
questions?
No opposition at the zoning hearing?
No, sir.
No, sir.
I would just like to thank you for coming down and spending some money in our parish so we can get some sales tax. I appreciate that.
Any other questions from the table?
Mr.
Audience?
Mr. Chairman,
I'm sorry.
I'll be present but not voting.
President not voting, okay. Anyone from the audience? Okay, the machine is open on 6A4. And the ordinance is granted 6-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else need something moved to? Okay. Oh, 6C will be deferred. Anyone waiting on 6C is deferred. All right.
I have, we have consultants in the room on the flood insurance.
See.
Yeah, if we want to move forward. E.
7E. We'd like to move to 7E, Ms. Barber.
Discussion of federal flood insurance and base flood elevation maps. Councilmember Roussel.
Mr. Russo?
Yes, I don't know, I believe we have some people in the room who are interested in commenting on this. My purpose in this, bringing this forward is that I've had many constituents inside the 100-year protection area call about their flood rates. Some people on one side of the street pay $460. On the other side of the street, they pay $2,400 or whatever. And so my goal is to be able to see if there's a way for us to get updated on the LAMP program and on the flood insurance program and ultimately adopt the flood maps that are in the 100-year protection, if we can do that separately, to allow those people inside the 100-year protection the ability to have their flood insurance rates reduced. And what spurred this on was the fact that the news media picked up in Orleans Parish that they were moving forward and they were saving all of this money on flood insurance, and naturally people called, and it's time that we address it and try to give them a status.
So, is someone here to speak on?
Blair Rittner, Land Department, Plaquemines Parish. I have with me an associate, Mrs. Melissa Kennedy. She's with HNTB. She is the company that the parish is contracted to do the LAMP program. She does have a short presentation. I'd like to pass out the presentation brief to y'all and let her take it from here. Melissa.
Thank you.
H.
Do you want me to start or wait till he passes out the presentation? It's not very long. I'm going to speak on the LAMP process and where we are within the process. I'm not going to speak on insurance rates and that type of thing because it's not my purview. I don't have the historical knowledge on that, but I can give an update on where we are with the LAMP process. I just want to give a little bit of background. A couple years ago, Congress authorized FEMA to go ahead and reevaluate some of the mapping that was done to include levee systems that were currently non-accredited. And what that means is a accredited levee is one that provides 100-year level flood protection according to FEMA guidelines. Their current maps, if a levee did not meet their criteria, the way they did the analysis is they assumed that that levee did not even exist. So this new program, it's called the Levee Analysis and Mapping Procedure, allows FEMA to go ahead and reanalyze those areas to include the levees and some sort of protection that they can provide. So a couple years ago, the levee, FEMA instituted this program, and there are 25 different pilot programs. Plaquemines Parish is one of them. The objective of the program, again, is to update the flood risk associated with the levees, develop new floodplain maps, and hopefully lower insurance rates and maintain your real estate values. That's the intent, to actually show that the levees that are existing will provide some level of protection. As part of this process, they've established a local levy partnership team. There have been 3 meetings to date. The intent of that team is to engage the community in the process so that their input is included in how this whole process and procedure goes along. Currently, FEMA has done some preliminary mapping, or I should say preliminary analysis, and we've just completed the review process of that preliminary analysis. This slide, it's kind of hard to read, but what it generally shows was the preliminary analysis done by FEMA utilizing a modeling system that analyzes the waves that go over the levees. It goes across Plaquemines Parish. And what this map shows is basically the change in base flood elevations from the 2008 firm maps. You'll notice that some locations, the actual flood elevations have increased, and in some locations, they've been reduced. Overall, there's an average of about 0.5 feet reduction in the overall base flood elevation. Now again, this is the preliminary modeling that FEMA did. So what they've done is they've made available their model to us to review. And so Plaquemines has done the review of that model. And what we've done is gone through and we checked to verify that they included the correct levee elevations and all the elevations that are expected to be in place by June of 2016. That is their baseline condition, June of 2016. We also looked at the model and noticed that they had not included some of the coastal restoration projects that had been put in place. So we provided that information to be included in the model. There was also a lot of discussion on the wave period and analysis utilizing the wave period. So they have taken those discussions and recommendations into consideration and are updating the model with that. And we've also provided a lot more detailed information on the land use and existing vegetation within the parish. And we asked that they included an additional area that we felt had not been adequately analyzed in the model. So that is where we are right now. We've had these meetings with FEMA. They are currently now incorporating all these recommendations that we've suggested into the model. And the next slide. And this kind of is just a very generic slide, and I wanted to show that because I wanted to show on the top slide that there are lots of things affecting the flood elevations and how they're developed and the waves that come and surge and how all different types of features help reduce the wave heights and the surge within the parish area, which also then contribute to a reduction in the base flood elevations. So on our path forward, as I said, FEMA is currently updating their model right now. We're hoping that they told me, I talked to them this morning, and they expect to have new base flood elevations in June of this year. Also in June, they're going to come up with some preliminary maps, and we're going to get together again and review the preliminary maps and make sure that we are in agreement and concurrence with how they've done the mapping. Then they're going to essentially issue the updated preliminary FEMA maps, which then go out for a public review period of 30 days and a 90-day appeals process. So there is still time after they issue those to review them, comment, et cetera. After that process is done, then I understand that FEMA issues the preliminary flood maps, at which time there's also a 20-month implementation phase before all these new base flood elevations take effect. And at that time, parish and others have the opportunity to review further what's been done, and if they feel that there are changes that need to be made to the model or the mapping, then they have an opportunity to do that. Because the one thing you need to understand, again, FEMA is using a baseline of June of 2016. We know that the Corps is currently building levees, and we had to give them the elevation at June of 2016. So after that time, we know the Corps is going to continue to build some of these levees. So we'll have the opportunity after the preliminary maps come out to get those new levees and the higher elevations included so that we can get those maps revised. And that's what the CLOMR means. It's a conditional letter of map revision. It's an opportunity to revise the mapping.
Thank you.
And that's what I can tell you about LAMP.
Okay. A quick question. And revert back to Mr. Russo. I too get constituents calling saying, it's on the front page of the newspaper, did Orleans adopt the flood maps? Or is it by parish by parish?
It's parish by parish.
Okay, so they have adopted, because people see that and say, why we haven't adopted, why my rates are still, I got people living adjacent to each other and paying two different. But I try to explain them, and I'm glad you brought this up, that, there's underlying factors that we're still working on.
Yes.
Between levees, between hurricane protection, 100-year protection. So I try to ease their fear and say, it's in the works, but now you have given me sort of a timeline that now I can report that this is where we stand now.
Yes.
So, one other thing, didn't we get an extension from Biggers Waters Act for 2017? And that, are we under the gun to get this done before 2017?
I'm not sure the schedule. Do you know this, Blair? I know the schedule in the mapping analysis plan that they prepared for the parish. It does show going into 2017, but I think that's part of the 20-month review period.
Okay.
Or implementation phase. So.
Okay. Now, will there be public hearings on this?
I know there's a 30-day public review comment period, in which case I'm not sure if they're going to do a public
hearing.
Right.
Okay. But it's just the review time. Is that all that's listed? I'm just asking.
I'm not sure if they have to do the public meeting. End of July is when they're going to submit it.
Okay.
I mean, I assume if you want a public meeting, I think that
I'm just wondering if they've been protocol or.
I'm not sure if it's protocol or not, but
Okay.
they've been extremely cooperative and working together with the parish on trying to do this.
Okay. All right. I'm opening up to other questions.
Let me thank you for your presentation. Let me ask you a few basic questions. In the LAMP modeling, does it take in the entire parish or just outside of the 100-year protection?
Outside of the 100-year.
So I want to break this down into different discussions. Outside of the 100-year protection is where LAMP is addressing the features. The features that they are addressing or including in the models, are they actually dirt on the ground, or are they projects in the works that are being considered?
Both.
So
the baseline date is June of 2016. So whatever we told them that we felt would be in place by June of 2016 is their information.
So would Shell Island be included in that?
I'm not sure if that one is or not.
The
I don't
Barrier
know all
Islands?
the restoration-related projects. I know we gave them a whole bunch of them, but I couldn't tell you all the individual ones that are included. I can get back to you on that.
Okay, well, I just want to get an understanding and for the public's information to allow them to understand where we're at, because we're dealing with two different things. My next part of this will be to ask Mr. Metcalf to come up after the questions are completed to you. We will talk about inside the 100-year protection separately. But as far as the LAMP program goes, it's outside of the 100-year protection. And I was curious to know, with the REACH B2 project, was that included in the?
Is it completed?
No,
at this
it's
point?
not even.
Is it under construction?
No, it's not.
Then no.
So only projects as of what date were included?
June of 2016.
No,
In a couple months.
When they did the modeling.
That is how they're doing it.
So whatever's in place at June of 2016 will be included in the model?
Yes.
So that includes the Barrier Islands chain that's been restored and
I believe so. I know there are some Barrier Island
or any
projects
ridge
in there.
project,
Yes.
Davis Pond, those things?
The ones that will be completed by that point in time.
Okay. Well, thank you for that part of the presentation. What I'm interested in discussing now is that I would like to see if there's a way that we can address the base flood elevation maps inside 100-year protection and introduce an ordinance to accept those so that people that are inside 100-year protection can, again, benefit from the the reduced rates.
And
Now,
to-
hold on.
to answer your,
Yes, I have a question.
Hold on, Mike. I think Mr. Bartholomew has got a question.
I do too.
It's Williams
sorry.
too. Okay.
Can it be done in two different manners for requesting elevations? That's the standards for elevation, east and west of the Mississippi? Or does it have to be the whole parish as a whole to apply for the elevation?
No,
value?
they're broken down, there's different segments within the parish, so they're analyzing all of those, and I don't know if you can pull
I
that.
think there's a question for Mr. Metcalf to be able to answer that, since he's our floodplain manager. And
Okay.
it's my understanding that we do not have to adopt the entire parish, that we can adopt inside the 100-year protection, and that's where I'm headed with this.
because, Councilman Roussel, that most of the studies that would have amendment effects on the map are happening outside the 1% annual or the 100-year floodplain, which is on the West Bank, for all intents and purposes, everything north of the flood protection wall. By adopting the flood maps in that 100-year floodplain on the West Bank, nothing would happen by adopting them early that wouldn't happen anyway. So to answer your question, they very well could be adopted in that area with no real effect at all. Because there's nothing, these studies that are going on are not happening, like LAMP, are not happening in that 1% annual or 100% floodplain or 100-year floodplain anyway. So by adopting them early, you really wouldn't have any adverse effect on the LAMP data collection or possible revisions anywhere else in the parish. So to answer your question, yes, you could adopt them.
And so by adopting those, then those maps would go into effect?
They would go into effect as
And
soon as the ordinance was passed.
The
That's correct.
insurers will now utilize the new maps to issue rates?
Correct. That's
And-
correct. As soon as those maps are adopted in that area, in that partial adoption, those,
Well,
the
let me
insurance
ask-
carriers would recognize that, and FEMA Region 6 immediately.
What I would like us to do is to, through the administration in your office, have a public meeting, have the ordinance prepared and introduced to adopt the flood maps inside the 100-year protection, so that all of those individuals can come to the meeting and see where they are affected, and that way we can move forward with adopting 100-year protection flood maps inside that basin.
Understood, and it's also important to say that by doing that partial adoption, the areas of the parish that are not in that area, in that partially adopted area, would not be affected one way or the other by that adoption either. So,
Right, and as much as I want to help the entire parish on flood relief on rates, I think we're missing the opportunity to not help those that are inside the flood protection area. And, you know, that's not disparaging on any other part of the parish, but I think it's time for us to move in that direction.
Thank you.
So could I ask the administration to work on that and do it in a quick fashion?
yes, sir.
You can prepare the ordinance?
Yes, sir.
And I'll be glad to introduce it at the next meeting, and we'll have a public hearing in between, or a public meeting at least.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Cormier.
Ms. Williams, you had a question?
My question was for the lady with HNTB. I just want to verify that the LAMP analysis is looking at the entire parish.
No.
It's just a certain section, correct?
Just the area outside of the 100-year flood
But
protection.
for the entire parish, though, outside of the
Uh,
100-year?
I believe that is correct. Is
Okay.
that correct? Yes.
Yes? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else at the table? Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no.
Okay, we will move to item
Okay, I understand.
7H. Ms. Barbara, can you read 7H?
Public hearing on the request for a conditional use by Chevron Pipeline Company to construct an anchored lattice tower in a floodplain zoning district located in the Bohemia Spillway between Bohemia and Ostraker, Section 29, Township 19, South Range 16 East, East Bank, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, all in accordance with application number 2016-161, dated February 25th, 2016. Councilmember Bartholomew.
Councilmember Bartholomew, the public hearing is now open. You can make speak.
Hi, my name's Caroline Berta. I'm with Chevron Pipeline, and we're proposing a lids tower for fire protection at the Empire Terminal. So if we go to the next slide. The terminal is located on the west or the left ascending bank of the Mississippi River. If we go to the next slide. We're proposing to install the tower within our existing terminal infrastructure, and the red X on the map indicates where we're looking to install that tower. This is a close-up, so the tower is going to be 120 feet tall, and the fall radius will be 60 feet, and the way that works is that we've engineered a breakaway within the tower lattice. Next slide. So this is just a picture of what the tower would look like once it was installed. Next slide. And the tower is going to be anchored with helical anchors, and this is what the tower would look like once we've installed it. Are there any questions?
Are there any questions from the table?
And this is a conditional use in the floodplain?
Yes.
No problem.
None.
Any questions from the audience? Mr. Freeman?
So we're planning to install a camera, and the camera will help for fire protection at the terminal. No, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Freeman. Anyone else? If not, the public hearing is now closed.
Chairman, would like to revert to order, please, at this time.
We move to 6R. Barbara, will you read 6R?
A resolution approving the request for conditional use by Chevron Pipeline Company to construct an anchored lattice tower in a floodplain zoning district located in the Bohemia Spillway between Bohemia and Ostrager, Section 29, Township 19 South, Range 16 East, East Bank, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, all in accordance with application number 2016-161 dated February 25th, 2016.
Mr. Bartholomew, you offering?
I do.
I'll second. Any questions from the table? Audience? The machine is open on 6R. And the resolution is granted 7-0. All right, anyone else? Or we'll move back. We'll revert
Whenever
back.
Chevron price goes up, don't forget to send a little donation to the recreational program, Blackman Parish.
I didn't understand a word he said.
It wouldn't just- Okay.
Councilman Bartholomew, would you repeat that?
No, I can't.
Okay. Maybe left unsaid, all right. We'll revert back to item 1A. There are no proclamations. Mr. Cormier, we'll move to C, status report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's always a pleasure taking a ride down the East Bank, see all of the activities that are taking place, the East Bank back levee. A lot of comments from people on the East Bank with the anticipation of the back levee and moving back and providing more people and more property taxes and so forth getting into commerce. So it's excited about that, and we appreciate the council moving forward on that East Bank back levee. Down by the courthouse, you can see that the jails have now been demolished, and the last thing is the relocation of the tower, which we anticipate will take place very soon. Moving to the West Bank, we had an RPC DOTD meeting, at which time I recommended that we move forward with a 73-foot fixed bridge for the Belle Chase Tunnel, 5% grade, which is similar to Woodland Bridge going toward the Gall, and it will be a 4-lane. They had looked at 6% grade when that was rejected, and of course, the 100-foot bridge was rejected also. And it cost about $122 million, and that includes demolition. And unfortunately, it'll take probably 4 to 8 years. So hopefully we'll go toward the lower side before completion of the bridge takes place. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Cormier. Any questions from the table?
I have one question. Are there any more change orders on the courthouse project yet?
Not that I'm aware of. Nothing has been brought forth by Linfield Hunter and Junius. There were some, I guess, up-to-date situations that they were taking place with the walls with Councilman Bartholomew. And so that's going to be the next issue after we get through with the demolition of the tower.
So,
I'm sorry, Ken. Ken, you have a statement?
On the first project, excuse me, the demolition project did have for the asbestos abatement, had 54,000. That's the only one I'm aware of.
Okay, so I guess where I'm headed with this is that we got a breakdown of the expenditures on the courthouse fund, and before we move in any direction about more change orders, I would hope that we allow the contracts to take their place and proceed without issuing change orders unless it's an absolute emergency. So we'll know what we have at the end of the day. We still have to address a few issues with the funding that's remaining, and the last thing I want to see is that we complete the project and short on funds for other items, like furnishings, electronics, and those type of things.
I would prefer that, just like Mr. Roussel stated, that we follow the contract and then do it as was written, as we initiated, and then we dare come back to the council thereafter what the intention will be by the board. But we finish with the contract that has been signed.
All right. Anyone else? Questions from the table? Audience, Mr.
Yes. On the courthouse issue, I talked to Ken about this earlier, but I'd like you to explain to the people that once the construction on the courthouse starts, there will be construction insurance that will take care of building that courthouse, simply because if it's going to take 2 years to build, God forbid we have a hurricane and the project won't be able to be completed. So could you elaborate on that a little bit, sir?
The contract documents are right now under review with the administration and legal to make sure that the proper bonds and insurance are in place.
Thank you. Anyone else? We'll move to item 2, bids and advertising. We have none. Item 3, beer and liquor license. Mr. Bartholomew?
Have none?
Okay, Mr. Juno? I have none.
None.
I have none. Mr. Byrd? Mr. Salvant? Ms. Williams? Thank you. Move to item 4, building permits. A, construction. Mr. Bartholomew, will you object to taking 1 and 2 in global?
No, no objection.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Barber, will you read 1 and 2?
4A1, Whitney Oil and Gas LLC, application number 2016-356, dated April 20, 2016, to install 8-inch flow line, Garden Island Bay Field, Councilmember Bartholomew. Number 2, Whitney Oil and Gas LLC, application number 2016-357, dated April 20, 2016, to install 8-inch flow line, Garden Island Bay Field, Councilmember Bartholomew.
Thank you, Ms. Barber. You offering?
Offer.
Or ask for a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Russo. Any questions on these 2 permits? Machine is open on item 4A, 1 and 2. And it's granted 7-0. Item B, I'm going to defer that. That's under Mr. Edgecombe. I don't know with his wishes. We'll move to item C.
Highway 23 Properties LLC, George Smith, fireworks stand renewal, 9418 Highway 23, Belle Chase, Louisiana. Councilmember Juno.
As read.
It's been offered as read. Can I ask for a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Russo. Any questions? The machine is open on item C. And the permit is granted 7-0. Move to item 5, introductions of ordinance and resolutions. Mr. Bartholomew? Let him rip.
All right. An ordinance to amend as amended, readopt Rule 1 of Charter 1 of Section 2-17, the Code of Ordinance for Plaquemine Parish, Louisiana, to establish a meeting of the Plaquemine Parish Council and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance approving the plan of re-subdivision for the property of Lionel Gilliard, Plaquemine Parish, Louisiana, as shown on the map of re-subdivision of the Greenwood Plantation into lots 1 and 2, McKay and Associate, dated December 29, 2015. The owner has fulfilled all the requirements of subdivision and re-subdivision ordinance of the parish of Plaquemine without cost to Plaquemine Parish government or the parish of Plaquemine, otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance authorizing the emergency exception of the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemine Parish government and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Bartholomew. Mr. Juneau?
I have none.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Russo?
An ordinance to rescind, annul, and set aside ordinance number 16-24 and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend and as amended readopt ordinance number 01-63 and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. A resolution authorizing the parish president to sign any and all documents necessary to enter into an agreement in accordance with ordinance number 01-63 as amended with the Plaquemine Parish Recreation North Booster Club and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. A resolution expressing the Plaquemine Parish Council's support of continued action to reduce the Gulf of Mexico hypoxia zone and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. And a resolution expressing the Plaquemine Parish Council's support of the Land, Water, and Conservation Fund and otherwise with respect thereto.
Thank you, Mr. Russo. I have a few. A resolution authorizing the parish president and the chairman of this council to sign the receipt and release of any and all applicable settlement documents necessary and proper to compromise and settle the payment of a portion of the outstanding judicial award owed pursuant to the final judgment in Lawrence S. Lemoyne versus Grayland Showtice, all 24 judicial number 719686, Division P, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance authorizing the acceptance of a donation for the Homeland Security Emergency Preparedness Department and to amend the General Fund 2016 Operating Revenue and Expenditure Budgets, Homeland Security Emergency Preparedness Department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance authorizing the acceptance of a donation from the Plaquemine Parish District Attorney's Office and to amend the 5-year capital improvement plan for the Government Complex District Attorney's Building Project and 2016 General Fund Revenue Budget and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance authorizing an emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions, Plaquemine Parish government, otherwise to provide with respect thereto. I'm offering this on behalf of Mr. Black. A resolution authorizing and directing the Plaquemine Parish Development Board to conduct a public hearing to consider a text amendment of Section 3 definitions and Section 6 zoning regulations, paragraph A, B, A1, A2 rural, or agricultural zoning districts, subsection 2, conditional uses of the Plaquemine Parish Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance, ordinance number 142 as amended, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. That's all I have. Mr. Burt?
I have one.
Okay.
An ordinance to rescind ordinance number 16-24 as amended and approved on March 10, 2016, and restore section 6, paragraph M, subparagraph 2 of ordinance 142 as amended by ordinance 16-24, the comprehensive zoning ordinance to its pre-amended state and condition and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Thank you, Ms. Salvant.
I have none.
Thank you, Ms. Salvant. Ms. Williams?
I have one to offer on behalf of Councilmember Edgecombe. An ordinance by the Plaquemine Parish Council as and on behalf of the West Bank Levy District to appropriate temporary work area easements, servitudes, and right-of-ways in certain portions of land in Plaquemine Parish Louisiana, to construct the Hurricane Protection System West Bank Non-Federal Levee Flood Wall, NOV-NF-W-4A.1, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, for levee, flood wall, drainage, flood, and hurricane protection purposes, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Is that it? Thank you, Ms. Williams. We'll now move to item 683.
An ordinance by the Plaquemines Parish Council as and on behalf of the West Bank Levee District to appropriate a new perpetual flood protection levee flood wall and drainage ditch easement and temporary work area easements in certain portions of lands in Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, to construct the New Orleans to Venice NOV-NF-W-06B.3 West Point LaHash Gulf South Pipeline and Siphon T-Walls project in Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, for levee drainage, flood, and hurricane protection purposes, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Ms. Alvant, you offering?
Yes, I'm offer as read.
I'll second it. Offer is read.
Yes.
Any questions from the table?
I'd just like to get an explanation about what this covers, what areas.
Yes, before we move forward, I would like Mr. Rittner to come up and give a thorough explanation of this
Mr. Rittner?
project in the West Point LaHash area.
Again, Blair Rittner, Plaquemines Parish. Can you all hear me? This particular ordinance, there's two pieces of the project in the NOV. Obviously, it's a core project down in West Point LaHash where the siphons, right now the siphons are coming from the river into a little pond up in this area. And go to the next slide, please. Go to the next one. Okay, so what's happening is the siphons come from the river, come through here. What the Corps is planning on doing is building a concrete infrastructure to actually put gates on the siphon pipes themselves. And during a storm event, the parish would come in, close the gates to either prevent a siphon from the river or the backside levee, whichever level is higher at the time. There is some work they're going to build a T-wall, and then they're going to have a transition from a T-wall to a levee. Now, Ms. Audrey, we had a meeting originally. This path was coming through this piece of property through the request of your constituents, yourself and Mr. Cormier. The Corps has diverted it to the existing levee alignment, and then they'll cross over and tie into the levee that's going to be built between West Point LaHash and St. Jude. Go back one slide. That's this particular piece. This right here, Gulf Coast Pipeline, has two pipes that cross the highway and go under the river. And in order to put a pipeline either through a levee or over a levee, they've elected to build a T-wall and go through the T-wall. And these are two transitions going from an earthen levee to a T-wall. They typically have these transitions on all projects. You see the different colors. This particular project here is actually under construction right now. That's 6-4B. What they've done is went out and put a preload. They built the mud up, I don't know how high, 12, 15 feet in the air. And basically, they're letting that settle. That's under construction now. And then once, I think in October, this particular project is going to be turned over, and they'll make the federal levee come through here, through the T-wall. It will make a 90-degree turn and go west from here. And so it's two projects, construction projects, within one project 6B3, which is two structured projects. And there's approximately 3 landowners, we're, the parish being one of them. We own a piece of this property. There's 2 other landowners. On the other piece where the flood structure is, there's like 6 landowners, and we're one of the 6.
That's north of the Point Lahage Ferry, where the people live at in that area, in
Yes.
that West Point Lahage
Yes,
area.
sir. Yes.
And where that dirt is, that's what we talking about, where we own that, where that surplus of soil we have stacked there north of that?
Yes, that's actually
All right.
on the other side of the highway. You're correct. You're correct. In fact, go one more slide. I'm glad you brought that up. Go another one. This piece exactly is what you're talking about. There's a road that goes to the levee, to the siphons right now. The parish owns this whole tract of land. This piece in green is actually going to be a temporary right-of-way for staging materials and construction. I'm glad you brought it up because actually that's a third piece of that. Any questions?
I'm supposed to say that.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Any questions? And audience? No? Yeah, I think you're off the hook.
Okay.
So thank you for that explanation. Machine is open on 6A3. And the ordinance is granted 7-0. 0, sorry. We move to item 6D.
An ordinance to amend the 2016 general fund operating expenditure budget, swimming pools, day event department, and the 2015 manpower structure and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
You're offering with changes, Mr.
Offer with the changes.
And the changes have been passed out to everyone.
Everyone has the changes.
Excuse me. With the, you got it? You didn't get it? No? Okay.
You want me, let me go over it?
You want to go over it real quick? It just changes?
Changes, on line 11, towards the end, you say classified temporary,
Keep that one.
and here's the number, well, that, and on line 17, instead of 20, it's 10,000. Line 23, draw the line through 528, 510, draw that all completely, line completely out. And on line 24, that's as is, and line 26, is that 20? Scratch out 500 and put 9,250. In line 27, scratch out 1,500, put 750. And on line 20, on line 30 and 31, the new, everything is deleted, and with the 2016 general fund manpower structure, swimming pool, day event department is amended by creating 10 classified temporary lifeguard positions. And section 3 was the number 3 is added to that.
All right, with those changes you're offering, we ask for a second. Second by Ms. Salvant.
I have a question.
Me too.
Where are the funds coming from?
It's already in the under professional service, under the pool, day event pool. And the money might not even be used for day event pool, but just in case it runs to that during the course of the summer, because we're going to use the money that we already have been approved under with the 50,000. But since the money was already attached as professional service, that money could be utilized if it comes to that come to that point.
Quick question, Mr. Bartholomew. What's the difference between this one and 6Q?
It was 20,000.
That was what? Q. Q is that lifeguards too? Are we funding those positions also? Or that has to come? Right, if we pass, do we have to go back to this and revert to this to implement them? That's correct? Well, I don't know. I mean, with 6Q, the finances tell me 6Q would probably have to be done first, because we,
All right, let's defer, we go to 6Q, then we come back to it.
okay. All right, Ms. Barber, will you read 6Q?
An ordinance authorizing an emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemines Parish government and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Mr. Bartholomew, offering?
Offer.
I'll ask for a second.
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Salvan.
I have a question. Who's going to pay, where's the funds going to come in to get these lifeguards certified, and who's going to certify them?
As long as it don't go out.
YMCA gonna certify because 750.
Well, that's what we gotta clear up right now.
The YMCA?
Yes.
For what, charge of what?
What?
How much, what's the cost?
$750, $75
For all
each.
10 of them?
Yeah.
$75 each?
Yeah.
I have an issue with this, Mr. Bartholomew.
That's fine.
My only concern is because we had this in place already. You know,
The
prior
whole-
to the YMCA, you requesting that you wanted to have $50,000 to fund a summer program, and the YMCA pulled
I
out.
did not say no swimming
Wait
pool.
a minute,
Miss-
wait a minute.
Wait, I'm gonna tell it straight.
Wait, one at a time.
She's talking about the swimming thing. That wasn't included. My intention was to deal with recreational program only because the kids did not have, no parents had that kind of money to send their kids to the recreational program. And we took $50,000 out of the money that Plaquemines Parish government gave the YMCA, who refused to do this thing whole harmless with the people on this side of the river because there is no money, no jobs, no nothing going on at the time. Now, if the Y would have did that, there'd been no problem whatsoever. And I've had several meetings with them concerning that. So that's how that came to pass. And the year prior to that, we didn't even have the pool open. So that means the Y had $300,000 to take care of Davant, Port Sulphur, and Buras. That's including the swimming pools, the lifeguards, and everything else. The only thing they didn't cover was the maintenance and operation expenditures of the pool. The parish maintained that. Now, this year, the only thing they're doing is Port Sulphur and Buras for $250,000. And I have $50,000 to take care of this community. So where is the money being put? In Buras, and in Port Sulphur, $250,000. And you concerned about $50,000?
No, my only concern is they provided this service, and when we had the budget hearing, I
I'll
asked
tell you what, if you think, go ahead. I'm
No, my,
Let her
it-
speak. Let-
it's
let
just,
you
it's, my only concern is that whenever we decided to remove them from the Davant community, you said that you could do the programs, including the pool, with the $50,000. That's my only concern.
I didn't tell you that. I did not say that.
Okay.
I said the recreational program, the summer program. But the Y came one day, and I'm gonna get the right now on the table and get it all straight. They came and said they was gonna move their stuff out. And with that in mind, they start taking this, that, and everything else, and then it said that they were gonna remove all the weights out the room. So 2 weeks later, I sent a letter to Mr. Gravely. I said, when will you move your stuff out of the weight room so we can try to get some more weight in? Now, and that's what happened. I didn't tell them to leave. They decided that themselves. Now, frankly, all those things was raised in the name of Davant Community Center. So to me, that's some kind of violation when you refuse to leave things what they was originally intended to be for. They moved those things out. That might be a violation.
Well,
With the Legacy Foundation, because if you look at the charter, what it stated that these things will be funded with the Legacy Foundation for each community center. And it has been. And they removed it, so it became a false pretense, as far as I'm concerned, by removing it. And I did not suggest that they removed it. They remove anything. The only thing I suggest and was adamant about, that the kids could not come to recreation because they didn't have anything going on in this area for people to work, to supply them the money to participate. That's all I asked for.
Okay.
But they refused to leave. Not John Bartholomew made them leave.
Okay, I don't want to have a debate with you. I'm just,
That's
you
not
know,
a debatable, I'm not debating, I'm just telling you the facts.
okay.
Tell me how you really feel, John. Cut the tension here a little bit. Tell me how you really feel, John. But
Well, I'm just saying, the whole thing in a nutshell was to be able to do a program. Now, we may have enough, but I'm not sure that we will have enough money to pay the complete salary for the 12 weeks for the lifeguard. And I just want to make sure we got something that's already in the budget. I'm not asking for any additional monies to put in that $50,000. That stays in the operational budget. That does not come to that. And if there is no money needed, there will not be spent. But the thing is, I guarantee you, we will have a recreational program, like I intended from Jump Street. But in the meantime, since they're left, we have to absorb the responsibility of getting the pool and stuff organized. And that's what I've been doing. And I thank for the support of the president and also the lady that's going to do the training from the Y. Very supportive of that, and I appreciate that very much. And that means they're at least trying to make it happen. And all I'm saying is to make sure we can cover the whole program for the 12 weeks with the pool. Everything else is covered.
In addition to that, Mr. Chairman, I would just like to say that Mr. Bartholomew is absolutely correct. As recent as last year, $100,000 was remaining in the legacy budget, and that money went to the Belle Chase Y to build a gymnasium. So if we talk in fairness, it wasn't done fair. It wasn't done fairly at all. So I support Mr. Bartholomew program 100%. Thank you.
Will these lifeguards fall under recreation?
They'll be coming under the auspices of the volunteer fire department, probably will be monitoring, but all the rules and regulations will be done by them. They will follow through the certification of the lifeguards, and those things will be done. The schedule will be done by the volunteer, not volunteer, but the person who will be in charge of the pool to set up the schedules and everything else. And the schedule will be that we will not have 10 people working at the pool every day, and that means you give 10 kids an opportunity to make some monies on the East Bank during the summer.
Mr. Bartholomew, if this legislation would fail today, would the pool open?
Yes. I don't know if it'll stay the whole summer, but it will open.
Because we have monies in place for some of the lifeguards. This is just to extend it after the 12-week program. Is that
No,
correct?
no, it's not to extend, you got this whole thing all wrong. We're trying to complete the 12 weeks. June, July, and August till Labor Day. It may end in July, all depends on what time school opens, we'll close the program. Then it may just be open on weekends, during that time, just on weekends, till it's time to close.
Okay, again, I guess my point is, if it fails, you still have monies in place to use, or what you said it was still open? We don't have any lifeguards.
Well, no, if the lifeguard don't pass, I mean, we won't have them.
Okay, well, I just said if it fails, will the pool?
I don't know what you're talking about. You talking about this?
Yeah.
What we talking about now?
Yeah, if this legislation fails, will the pool still open?
How you going without no lifeguards?
That's what I just asked, and you just said yes.
I'm talking about the money situation. That doesn't take no rocket science to figure that. You can answer that one for
Well,
yourself.
I'm asking you because you keep saying about the 12 weeks after.
I'm talking about the operational program,
Okay.
man. I'm not talking about the employees. And if you ain't got the employees, how you gonna work? Can't form the duty
Did
without
it
the
open
employees.
last? Did it open last year?
No.
Under the Y, it didn't open. Okay. Mr. Henry?
Yes. I think this is a vital thing here. Mr. Bartholomew, you all said to me, this would include kids from the West Bank also, right? Yeah, all on the, and I preach this all the time. All kids can't afford to go to the Y. So this is a program where it could benefit all the kids who can't afford it. And I think it's worthwhile. And guess what? Each one of y'all districts have 4 people.
Program will be designed to accommodate all the kids who cannot afford doing 5 days a week at no expenses. If they can't afford to go anywhere else, they can come over here and swim. They can participate in the recreation program, providing they don't overpopulate the employees that we will have to maintain the day-to-day operation for the summer recreational program. But as far as the pool is concerned, If you're in a recreational program, you swim free all day. But weekends gonna be different, because there's no recreation during weekends. That means everybody gonna come and use the pool gonna have to pay.
Any other questions? Question's been called. Machine is open. It's granted 5-1 with one abstention from, one no vote from District 9 and District 6 abstention.
I want to thank you on behalf of the children on the East Bank, for those of you all that voted for it, and I pray for the rest of us.
Now we will revert back to item 6D. Is that right? Yeah. It already has been offered with changes. It has been second. Are there any other questions? Okay. Call the question. The machine's open. And it passes 6-0, one abstention, District 6. All right, Jay. We'll move to item 6J.
A resolution authorizing the parish president Amos J. Cormier Jr. to enter into an agreement with the Pointe-a-la-Hache Volunteer Fire Department relative to the operation of the day event swimming pool and the summer recreation program, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
You offer, Mr. Bartholomew?
Yes.
Ask for a second. Second by Mr. Juneau. Mr. Bartholomew?
It is a cooperative agreement, like we do everything else. Make sure it works.
Any questions from the table? Audience? Machine is open on 6J. Okay, well, machine, he's present, not voting. It's passed it's granted 6-0, the resolution. Move to item 6L.
An ordinance to amend the 2016 General Fund Manpower Structure and Operating Expenditure Budget, Maintenance Department, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
You offer, Mr. Bartholomew? Yes. Ask for a second. I'll ask for a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Russo.
Let's have some discussion on these items.
Discussion only or just?
No, I offered it for the purpose of
Okay.
passing, but
All right.
or discussion.
We'll open discussion.
You know, currently we're in a hiring freeze mode, and we have to make some decisions, and I know that the floodgates seem to be opening up to allow more positions to be exempt from the hiring freeze. Reverend Giles contacted me concerning this electrician position, and he makes a case that if we don't hire this electrician, that we will have to start contracting out for contractors because we have no electricians on the payroll. Is that correct? Correct. So, as we squeeze the budget down and as we start eliminating unfunded positions, we have to come up with a priority as to how are we going to handle this payroll. And in that priority, we're going to have to weigh the effects of what we do of having no electrician to come to our buildings to fix it versus we hire a contractor, which is my understanding it would cost us a lot more. So I realize that by seconding this and putting it up for a vote, it will open the doors, and I don't really like to be in a position of picking and choosing, but I guess that's what we're elected to do and set priorities. And as we said at the PAB meeting, or at least as I said at the PAB meeting yesterday, or whenever it was, that it's our responsibility and job to sit here and balance the budget and deal with the issues. I appreciate PAB's effort to help us with the budget. They became knowledgeable of the budget. They understand where the shortfalls are. I would encourage them to continue to work on the budget, but come back with some recommendations as to what they think we should do in the shortfall. But today, the payroll is going to be something of importance to all of us to be able to make the right decision. And I'm not saying that I'm going to be able to vote for exempting all positions to the hiring freeze, but in this case, I think the case was well justified because of the fact that we have no electrician, and we would not want to have to be in a position to have a contractor come out and cost us more. And with that, I'd like to invite anybody else to chime in.
Reverend Giles, the position will be reinserted. Would the same individual be inserted?
He's going to be offered a position because he went through.
He was the electrician.
Yes, he was.
Okay.
And he had to go through some classes that he completed. So we're trying to keep it in-house, so we don't have to go out and start all over again. But everything he was required to do, he did.
My main concern, and I'm not going to put a lot of information out there, but we rehire this gentleman again, do we re-encounter more issues?
Well, we have some things in place to monitor that, and that's going to be on a daily basis, maybe weekly.
Right. I'm not here to judge anyone. I'm just here to say, well, are we going to be back at the table 6 months later because something happened and we need another electrician? And
well, it's really we need an electrician.
I agree.
He is a master electrician, and at the price what we're offering, it's going to be hard for us to get someone else. Now we could offer it throughout the parish, but there's no one on the payroll currently who is an electrician. Maybe when we do it in-house, if we have someone who is licensed and they step up, we may not have to offer him the job. But right now, we're at a position where either we have to outsource it to a contractor or offer it to him or someone else.
And that's what we're currently doing now, because we don't have an electrician?
Well, right now, everything is on hold as it pertains to electrical work, unless it's something real minor.
Right.
Because I'm asking the maintenance department not to indulge in big-time stuff. I don't want anyone to get electrocuted, then we're liable for that.
Please.
Yeah. So that's the problem we're having right now.
Okay. I mean, I support it. I know we need an electrician, absolutely, and it is a good deal. I'm aware and concerned of the individual that has had some issues in the past.
That's why I sent each and every one of you the email so you can read it.
Absolutely.
And see what we justify why we're trying to do this.
Okay.
Let me just say this. I'm not sitting here trying to pick employees. You know, that's not my responsibility to hire and fire, and that's the administration hire and fire, even though we have disagreements about the fire part. I think it is their responsibility. And so I'm not here guiding you in any direction to hire any individual other than the bare facts that we need an electrician, and this would serve that purpose. So I don't know the individual, never heard about the individual, don't care about the individual. It's strictly a need for the maintenance department, for me.
Thank you.
Speaking of maintenance,
Mr. Byrd?
can any of your maintenance guys perform any electrical work? Typically, maintenance folks do have electrical background and certification.
No, we have carpenters and plumbers, but we only have one electrician. And that, unfortunately, he is no longer with us right now. And we only have about maybe 8 guys and two young ladies who are painters. So we don't have an influx of employees in that department.
Okay.
Reverend Giles?
Yes, sir.
For the salary we offer them, if we have to call in an electrician for 3 weeks, it would overtake the salary.
Yes.
People charge anywhere from $75 to $125 an hour.
Yes.
So I think if we have to do this to save some money.
Well, we had got some quotes from some electricians, and that's why I presented it to you, because I wasn't going to authorize paying $150 an hour just to troubleshoot. So that's why I presented it to the council for discussion.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the table?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, administration would just like to say that priority would be safety and health, and of course, dealing with the electrician, that would certainly come under safety. The administration has released, I would remind everybody, I'll use the word released, all directors and everybody except one on the legal staff to come in. So we don't have a problem with releasing people, provided we think it's justified.
Thank you, Mr.
I'm glad we come to terms on that.
Found some common ground. All right, anyone from the audience? Machine is open on 6. Okay, Al, sorry. And the ordinance is granted 7-0. All right, we'll move to 6M.
An ordinance authorizing an emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemines Parish government and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
You offering, Mr. Bartholomew?
Yeah, that's in support of the electrician.
Okay.
Off.
Any questions?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Russo. Any questions? I'm sorry. Audience? Machine's open on 6M.
My only comment is in the future, when we do these,
That should have done
let's
first.
put the funding and the exception in the same ordinance, and we'll save money on the minutes.
And it's granted 7-0. I'm sorry. We'll move to 6N.
An ordinance to amend the 2016 Library Services Fund Manpower Structure and Operating Expenditure Budget, Library Department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Offer.
Offer, Mr. Bartholomew. Ask for a second. Ask for a second. I'll ask for a second, third time. Legislation fails without lack of a second. Move to 6O.
An ordinance authorizing an emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemines Parish government and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
You offer, Mr. Bartholomew?
Yes,
I'll second it. Mr. Bartholomew? Offer is read. Offer is read? I mean,
Yeah,
okay.
offer is read.
Miss Angie, I just want clarification. These will be removed from the general fund and put under the solid waste fund, these positions?
These are positions that are vacant, and they require you to make an exception to the hiring freeze.
Okay, but then they're existing under the sanitation department, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Wait a minute. I don't think we have any bookmobile operators operating under the sanitation department.
No, that's in the library department. You have the automated truck, the truck driver, and the cherry picker.
Let me ask you, we're on item O. Is that what we're on? The parish council hereby authorizes an emergency exception to the hiring freeze for the following items: automated truck driver 2, cherry picker, bookmobile operator.
Correct.
So, I mean, they're not under solid waste now.
The library ones are not, that's correct.
No,
Are they going to be transferred from one department to another?
are you talking about the positions?
Yeah, the people.
They're in the department. The first 3 are in the solid waste disposal department. The second 2 are in the library department.
Those are
understand.
positions, not
Okay,
people.
correct,
And the bookmobile operator, one of them just died for lack of a second.
correct. This should have come before the amendments.
There we go, it should have came before that.
Well, let me ask you this.
Let me remove my second. Okay. I remove my second. And do
Okay.
you want to eliminate line 19 and 20?
Up to the administration, y'all want to eliminate 19, 20?
need solid waste here.
Well, isn't the intention of this is my understanding, is to move
Let's,
the...
hold on. Let Ken bring discussion, please, so
Oh,
we
my
be
son.
legal.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
open up, you've been offered, I'll second it for discussion.
Now, Ms. Williams.
Okay, I'm sorry. Isn't the intent, it's my understanding that the intent of this is to move these positions out of the general fund into the solid waste and library funds, correct?
That's my understanding, yes.
These positions are occupied already, or are they vacant?
I think they're vacant, huh?
They're vacant.
So we're looking to move people that may potentially lose jobs
That is my understanding.
into these self-supporting
Into these
funds.
self-supporting funds, correct.
Okay.
Well,
And will we
well,
overstaff these departments?
we got
And are
to,
these needed? That's the next
we
question.
got to look at what's going on here. To me, the emergency exception is an automated truck driver, a truck driver 2, and a cherry picker. Now, those positions, in my understanding, and the 2 bookmobile operators naturally, which, did we remove them?
Not yet.
Not yet. My understanding is that these solid waste north and south positions are already in the workforce. They may be vacant positions, correct?
Yes, sir. One is not funded at this time. If you go to, if you look at P,
Yes, that's what we're doing. Yes.
that is unbudgeted at this time. It would require you to adopt this to place the funds in.
But the others are funded.
Yes, sir.
The automated truck driver, the truck driver 2, and the cherry picker,
Truck driver 2, yes. And yes, the automated truck driver. The
and
cherry picker was the only one that was unbudgeted at this time. Yes, sir.
You can take that out.
well, I think that what we need to do is
Let's get it written correct.
get this cleared that,
Within dying from lack of a second, it would make sense to take the bookmobile operators off. Yes,
correct?
sir.
But at the same time, what I don't want to see us do, and I understand Ms. Williams's question about, are we moving people out of other positions into enterprise fund positions because there's money there? Because that's not my intention to support that, because we raise the fees to break even.
Yes, sir.
And so there's no way that we should be packing that payroll because of the fees that we've increased on the public.
Yes, sir.
This doesn't do that.
Yes, it does. Yes, sir.
I thought you said that the automated truck driver and the truck driver 2, they're coming out of another department?
No, sir.
It's,
Where are they coming from?
Can we defer?
Well, let me just say this right quick. The automated truck driver, I had a guy 2 weeks ago who resigned. And so we don't have, that position is vacant right now.
Okay.
But as far as the cherry pick operator and the 2 bookmobile operators, if you just want to eliminate that, that's fine. But there is a need in solid waste north. Like I said, the guy, 2 weeks ago, the guy resigned.
I know, but we're trying to get, I think we got 2 issues here that we need to separate. One of them is that we had the solid waste department, and they have vacancies, and
That's
they are funded.
That's correct.
And we all believe that the solid waste department continues or needs to continue to operate. So then we need to address those 2 positions. But the question about moving people from other departments into the solid waste department is not addressed in this ordinance, correct?
That's correct. And that was the intent, and be it right or wrong, that was the intent to kind of help a person who may be losing a job. That was the original intent. But then in that process, we had some people who did resign. So now there's a need for those positions.
Right, so it goes back to how we're going to operate. And so if we have people who are in other departments and we have vacancies that pop up in the enterprise fund department like the solid waste, then yeah, it makes sense to laterally transfer them. But not to pack the department with more people than we have currently.
Correct.
Correct?
Correct.
We are all on the same page?
Correct.
All right. I have a question. If someone just retired or resigned, that particular position or that person wasn't part of the legislation when we put a hire and freeze on. What does that mean? I mean, do we have to go back and amend anything? Amend it? The hire and freeze, even though it wasn't part of the original ordinance that was done?
In my opinion, the ordinance that created the hiring freeze is across the board. And even, no matter what, who's there and who's not there.
But you're hiring to replace that person, so the freeze is still on.
I understand that, but I'm saying it was never part of the original bill when we did the population, or the people that we, jobs that we put a freeze on. But all the jobs that was frozen.
But we didn't specify what jobs were frozen. We said there's a freeze. So getting back to this ordinance, you need an automated truck, automated truck driver because you lost somebody.
That is correct.
And the truck driver too,
That is correct.
you lost somebody.
That is correct.
The cherry picker operator,
We're good. What happened with the cherry pick operator, we could take that off because I had a guy a few months ago who had got promoted to that position, but we never gave him we never gave him the promotion based on the freeze. So if we had to, we could move him up to that position, but because everything was frozen, we didn't move him up. And so because we didn't move him up, he's still a truck driver. So there was no need to fill his position.
okay,
All
so
right, you want to take your second back?
you did.
Yeah.
Do you want to offer?
I'd like to offer with the amendments that we eliminate
Lines
back.
18,
Changes?
19, and 20.
changes, eliminate line item 18, 19, and 20.
18, 19, and 20. With that.
With that, I'd
change-
like to offer.
And I'll second it. Now, any other questions? Audience? Machine is open on 6-0. And it is granted 7-0, 7-0. Move to 6P.
An ordinance to amend the 2016 Solid Waste Disposal Fund Manpower Structure and Operating Expenditure Budget, Solid Waste District 2 Department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Withdraw it.
Withdraw. Withdraw. I'm sorry, I was thinking the same thing. 6P is withdrawn. We'll go to 6Q. We did 6Q, I'm sorry. So we did 6R. 6, huh? We got to withdraw 6S,
Yeah.
okay? And Y. We'll move to item 6Y.
An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan, permit New Myrtle Grove Pump Station Project, and the acquisition of Lurds-NOV from Oakville to Venice Project, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Offering, Ms. Salvant. We'll ask for a second.
Offer as read.
If I need a second, hold on. Ask for a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bartholomew. Ms. Salvant's office read.
Yes, Council, you may notice that was legislation on the agenda regarding this issue, and it was withdrawn because of the fact of this legislation here. That was some discussion back in the past that the community of Myrtle Grove was having an issue with the discharge of the pumping station. The request of that community was to discharge that pumping station into the marsh rather than the Wilkinson Canal. And that kind of evolved into a lengthy discussion. So my whole intent here is to just make a perhaps wrong situation better. I'm in total disagreement with the levee projects that's going on in those areas, but in hindsight, when you look at all of the funding and the revenues that have been invested in the last 7, 8 years into the design of those levees, it would be almost suicide to stop these projects or readdress those projects. is disheartening to know that, you know, I continually have to go back and address issues of the past and what I call our sins of the past that brings us here today. It's almost as if these levee projects was put in place to protect any and everything except people. And I thought that was the whole purpose of it. And it just behooves me to see what's happening in my immediate district. You know, the Wood Park area, those folks are going to be, the terms that they use, that they feel as though they're going to be caged. They're going to be on the opposite side of levee protection with a T-wall. The Myrtle Grove area, some of the same issues arise. And my heart just goes out to the community, my own community that was inundated by the river, by Katrina on a river levee. There is no protection there. So my heart is heavy laden. So when the cry from the community came out about at least the smallest thing, that it was on top of not getting the proper protection that they felt they deserved, they were being inundated with orders in the community. They couldn't access and enjoy their retirement homes. So my thought was, the least I can do, rather than going back and address, redirecting the levee projects, I called upon Mr. Rittner and asked him, we need to meet with the finance. We need to come up with some funding. The least we can do is redirect the discharge of that pump station, and this is where we are here today. And I'm going to ask Mr. Rittner to go ahead and take it from this point on.
I have one question before Mr. Rittner speaks. The $60,000 that's being appropriated, what is that for?
Right now, what's going to happen, can y'all hear me? I'm sorry. Right now, we need to apply for a permit, a coastal use permit. There's going to probably be a level of engineering that's going to be required. Right now, I have no dollars. I mean, I was told we should be in the ballpark with $60,000. But what's happening, let me explain the project real quick. The Corps is very close to completing a pump station in Myrtle Grove. We're about 2 to 3 months out. Right now, the discharge of the pump station comes out into the basin drainage, and it's planned they're going to demo the existing station, and the water is going to be pumped back into the Myrtle Grove Canal. And what our plans are is, as it comes out of the station, instead of going out into the canal, there's a bay right here. Okay, and what we want to do is put a cut in the levee, the existing levee, and discharge all of the water into the bay instead of trying to pump it into the canal. As y'all know, you've heard Mr. Lawrence many times at the council over the last few years, when we get a heavy, heavy rainfall, all of the water is going into the canal. If the tide has fallen, we don't have much of a problem. But when the tide is incoming, it backs up all of that material into the neighborhood. So the request for the funding is for us to design and get probably a coastal use permit. It may require a Section 10 and a Section 404 from the Army Corps of Engineers. We're hoping that DNR will grant permission through the coastal use and allow us to just change the course of the water flow to give the Myrtle Grove residents some relief on the discharge.
Thank you, Mr.
I have another question. I saw another drawing that was a little bit different from that, that already had a section already cut and designed.
Yes, you're correct. Right now, the cut that the Corps designed is about up in here. Okay, there's a 72-foot cut in what happened is there was a coastal project, I think when they dredged out the Myrtle Grove Canal, they actually put the spoil material in this area. And what happened is the cut would go straight into the material. So a couple of weeks ago, we had a meeting with the residents of Myrtle Grove, and we asked the Corps to place the cut here. Now, the difference is from what the Corps is telling me, is the cut is going to be at a minus 1 foot elevation. Now, right now, presently, this drainage canal goes to this pump station and pumped out. This canal is at an elevation today at a minus 5 feet, okay? And what's going to happen is the Corps is going to fill this canal in. The new drainage is going to come into here to the pump and discharged out here into the Wilkerson Canal. So what the ask was to move the cut here, but the cut is only to inundate the canal. We're going to go from, I'm very sorry, we're going to go from a minus 5 feet to the existing current tide, which could be a +1, +1.5. So they're going to inundate the canal with 6.5 feet of water, and they want to slowly let that in. They just don't want to open up the levee and say, let it rip, you know. So, what we are going to do is try to keep that cut that the Corps is going to make. We'll probably have a level of engineering. We want to get that lowered a little bit, and then let all of the discharge out of the pump station go into that bay.
Mr. Black, Chairman?
Yes.
So we will have a problem only during the high tide. With the
No,
discharge, if it rains and stuff coming over, will it increase in that
Well,
canal?
actually, no, right now. I
I'm
mean,
talking about when you
once-
pump.
Let's say in 2 months, 3 months, when they turn the new pump station over to us, this portion of the canal is going to be at tide level, whatever the tide is, +1, +2, whatever. That's going to remain always. Once the station's turned over, this will no longer be at a -5. It will always be at tide level. And again, that tide fluctuates.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So whenever you have a monsoon or rain or something like that, that will increase that canal?
No, because the suction side is going to remain at a -5. So the inlet coming to the pump is at a -5. The outlet will be at tide level.
I'm not talking about the water in the canal. I'm talking about once you're pumping it into the other canal, an outfall canal.
The outfall, you're saying? Yeah, I mean, whatever the tide is. I mean, we don't normally change the level of the tide